Hey, I'm Janet Gallo-Markowski,
Hi, I'm Melanie Flager.
and we are coming on for an impromptu Yoga Chocolate and Chit Chat episode, which we haven't done anything in a minute. We get it. The summer we kind of tailed off, but we're coming on today because Melanie, that's her, is an AFA certified instructor. And she has to have continuous education credits to maintain that. And she's taking a class that is very interesting and very relevant to the demographic that we serve here at our yoga studio. Right, Melanie? What's the name of your class you're taking?
So I'm taking a class on sustainability in fitness. So how do you safely either enter the fitness world or continue doing your fitness routine so that you don't injure yourself?
Yeah, so you told me today, she got really excited talking about the class, and I was like, we need to throw this up so everybody can chime in. You were telling me that with regards to plantar fasciitis and other joint issues, what type of fitness routine is that most associated with?
So I was shocked to learn that the number one injury in fitness programs happens in the ankles and the feet. And the reason being is the jarring motions of like HIIT training,
Like
interval, high impact. And because most of us do not stretch out our ankles, strengthen our ankles, move our feet around, get some nice stretching in our feet, that the impact on those joints that are not rigid, right? They're rigid, causes plantar fasciitis, which is an inflammation of your arch in your foot, and ankle problems.
Okay, so HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. High intensity interval training. And so that is not, it's not necessarily high impact. However, the majority of the mainstream gym type of workouts and routines generally incorporate high impact type things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flesh this out real quick and you can tell me if this makes sense. So most of us are sitting in our desks or have a relatively sedentary lifestyle, right? All of us are not out being having active jobs, physically active jobs. So then you leave your job and where you haven't really mobilized anything. You haven't really mobilized your ankles, your joints, and you go to the gym and you take a class that is a high intensity interval training, which might have burpees, full expressive burpees where you're jumping. There could be some squat jumps. There could be something like that, and your feet and your ankles have not been properly stretched, rotated, lubricated, the joint lubricated, so that you're prepared for that, and then injuries
come. Yeah. So that was very telling to me. So like, because in yoga we are not putting that impact on those joints like that.
Right.
But the other thing that so they talked about when injuries occur. Injuries can occur to an unconditioned body. But what I really loved was unconditioned does not mean old, and unconditioned does not mean overweight. Unconditioned means that you're not flexible, you're not lengthening, right? Your tissues. It means your muscles are weak, and it means your balance is off.
So those three things: your balance is off, your muscles have not been strengthened and your muscles have not been stretched.
Right. And
So those are like the three characteristics of being
in a
unconditioned.
Right. So if you're conditioned, so it doesn't mean conditioned like to run a 5K. It means conditioned so that for your lifestyle, you're not going to injure yourself because you're stretching your muscles, you're including some weight bearing exercise, and you're you're working on balance and strength so that you don't fall over. Hence your ankle too, right? How many people turn their ankle,
roll
down
ankle,
they
and
go?
that's the end of it.
Because they're not
Yeah.
they're not even rotating the ankles like this, right?
Yeah.
And coming up and down on your tippy toes, simple things like that. That's all lubricating and strengthening around the ankle.
It brings me back to, I remember reading a book, and I will place it in the comments, by a yogi who likes to study biomechanics, or actually, I'm sorry, it was another reference point that I'll drop in, and it was another book on anatomy and physiology in yoga, and it is where I learned that joints will not produce synovial fluid, or they will not lubricate themselves without movement. So muscles will lubricate themselves without movement, but joints, in order to stimulate the processes that will then create that that process of loosening them up, where like after you roll around or you move a little bit you feel better, that process is only stimulated by movement. And your joints are your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your hip socket, your knee joint, your ankles. So if you're not rolling your ankles every day, well, that's what creates that I feel stiff in the morning. You feel the stiffest because you've been moving the least.
Yeah, and everything. So if you're doing a fitness routine, anything you do, you want to make sure that it, like I happen to love to work on leg movements. Well, you can't just do your legs, right? You gotta switch it up, because you can also do too much on one particular joint or movement and hence hurt yourself that way. So we always talk about in yoga where everything is on your hands, right? So we make sure that we come down to our forearms, we rotate around our wrists, we switch it up so that you're not injuring by doing the same repetitive movement all the time.
Right, because even yoga, which is hailed as a very healing practice, and it is, and it's very holistic, it's very integrative, it uses all of the joints, all of the muscles. It can be very wrist, this is extension. It can be very wrist extension dominant, this, right? Not as much flexion of the wrist joint. So then, like you said, even if you're just a yogi and that's all you practice, if you practice a lot of the traditional movements and the modern movements, then you're going to be doing things that are very hyper focused on extension, which is one of the reasons at Pearl that we've integrated the mobility stick, because it enables you to work on your grip, right? Absent a tool, it is very difficult to work your grip. And it's so important. It's so important to always balance it out. So if we're doing a lot of extension, we want to balance it out with some flexion, some grip strength. That's the stuff that would help you with the pull-up, those muscles that would help you with the pull-up. Not always pushing, but also pulling.
And even in any, we do it in yoga, but in any fitness routine. So you want to make sure that first that you're just loosening up your fascia. So whether you are doing these things, rolling them around, whether you have a roller that you roll out your feet, you roll out your calves, you have a wheel, you roll out your back, you have to loosen things up first, gently. Then you add your stretching, right? Then you're going to add your static and your active stretching. Then you're going to work on your muscle strength. And then the last step is you're going to put it all together, right? But you don't just start putting it all together before you do the other, because that's how you might hurt yourself.
Right. The other thing that you talked about that you told me today was that I thought that you thought was interesting, and I also agree with you, is that the people that are more likely to get injured are not people that have active jobs, but that are people that are more likely that are in sedative jobs.
Right.
So do you want to explain why you were talking about the back area and
Yeah,
stuff?
the course was stating that 80% of people have lower back pain issues, and it's increased over the years because we're all sitting. We have computer jobs, we're sitting, right? So what happens is, as you sit and you don't get up and move around, all those ligaments, muscles, all that tissue around your spine, it's tight. It's tight. And then this is tight, so now your glutes get tight, your hips get tight, it all just tightens up because there's no elasticity there because you're not moving.
So like your lower back is unsupported.
It's
It creates an unsupportive
Yes.
environment for your lumbar spine, which is really surrounded.
come all around to your hips.
Yeah.
So like this whole section here is one. So they talk about your joint. They talk about your 5 kinetic points of your body, right? Your feet and your ankles are 1, your knees are 2, your hips and lumbar spine is 3, your thoracic spine and your shoulders is 4, and your neck is 5. So when you're not moving, everything affects everything else. But this area is your largest area, is your hips and your lower back. That's why everything kind of tightens up right there.
And I could say this anecdotally, right? So this is statistically speaking, like what I love about this discussion is because I love backing up anecdotally what we see as yoga instructors and movement specialists. I love when we can back that up with what statistically is being seen. And I can tell you, we literally just had this conversation last night with 2 of our clients who come regularly. They take yoga at least 2 times a week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. They both have jobs where they have to sit. And so by just taking 1, 2, or 3 classes a week of yoga, both of them, and it's not gender specific, or because one's a male and one's a female, they both have alleviated their low grade lower back pain simply by taking yoga. And so that's what's important, right? Like Melanie and I, like, yes, we're yoga instructors, but we're really advocates for movement, okay? Because it doesn't matter if it's yoga or Pilates or some other discipline or modality that you prefer. What we want is that you're moving, and then also what she just said, like paying attention to the nuances of the balance between all of the joints, making sure that you're operating in your full ranges of motion, instead of and then also increasing tension on those ranges of motion so that you're building strength. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's slow, low impact, and full body types of modalities that have been shown to alleviate that. And I think that's really amazing to say that we know. We're not telling you, we're not advocating that you change your job,
No,
right?
of course
Because
not, right.
most jobs require us to be seated. A lot of jobs, not all of them,
Right.
but there are a lot of occupations where people are like, I'm going to be sitting all day. I mean, yes, I might get up and down, but I'm largely going to be sitting. And the point is that the good news is that your body is easily rehabilitated
Yes.
by taking 3 classes, 1, 2, or 3 classes a week. We could say anecdotally that we have someone who takes 2 and someone who takes 3 to 4, and both of them have said it's like magic. They
Yes.
literally do not have those issues anymore with their lower back that they used to have, and that's what keeps them coming.
Right. So just that little bit of movement, stretching, lengthening, and adding some muscle. So when we talk about yoga, we're not lifting weights here, we're talking about your own body weight. So we're talking about your own body weight, building muscle, and just incorporating every part of the body. So when we're teaching a class, we're stretching you out from head to toe. We're strengthening you from head to toe. And it's just enough. It's enough to just feel it. You feel the difference. You totally feel it.
Absolutely. So I loved hearing what she's learning and how, like I said, anecdotally, it's relevant to what we see on a daily basis. It's about creating a sustainable practice, a yoga practice for us. But outside of yoga, it's creating a sustainable workout routine, fitness routine that works for any age.
Yeah. So my goal is to just be able to keep moving, right? And doing what I love to do well for the next hopefully 20 years. And just learning how to do that safely and be able to pass that on to my over 50 community here at Pearl.
And one more thing, how old were you when you started yoga?
I started yoga at 55.
55. So it's not about your age.
No.
You could start. We have people that have started in 60s.
Yes.
We've had people that have started in their 60s. We've had people that have come back from a hiatus in their 70s.
No.
So it's not about age, okay?
Right.
It's about greeting yourself where you're at and just being consistent about it. And I agree with you. Like, I continuously mobilize myself just so that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that I feel like I could do the things that I'd like to do.
Yeah,
So
that's really all it's about. Like, I don't need to run a marathon, but I don't want to be.
she could sit like this.
Yeah,
You
I
wanna
can
be able
sit
to
like this. I want to be able to go up and down the stairs and not, struggle, and go grocery shopping and not struggle with my bags, and be safe when I'm walking my dog and not lose my balance.
Right.
That's
Okay.
really what it's about. That's really what it's about.
Thank you for joining us for this impromptu.
Yes.
Listen, I think we should put a schedule together. I think that we
Yes.
should put a schedule together of these,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll solicit topics from you. So if you're watching this, if you've made it this far, please drop a topic that you would like to hear us talk about. Otherwise, we're just gonna wing it and come about with something that's relevant or just took place. So either way, thank you for listening,
Yes, thank you.
and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
As everything pops.